good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting the cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Daga. This portion of the show is supported by Strong Hearts Native Helpline. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Strong Hearts offers culturally appropriate support and advocacy for Native Americans. You can call or text them anytime for free at 1-8447-NATIVE or chat online at strongheartshelpline.org.
Hey, we have a couple guests on today here, and one of them, they're from the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, and one's Angela Barnes, and she's director of Noojimo, and Cheyenne Hindsley, who's a sexual assault advocate with Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, a Noojimo program. And welcome to Native Roots Radio.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Right on. Hey, this is October's Domestic Violence Month, and let's start from the bare bones here. What is domestic violence? And Angela, I wonder if you could start us off.
Sure. Domestic violence it's also known as intimate partner violence, or IPV. And it can mean a couple different things for domestic violence. And a lot of people aren't aware that it can actually be between somebody that you've lived with. So like a sibling or cousin or something. It can also be somebody that you've had a relationship with, somebody who you share a child with. So it's not. It can mean a couple different things, but it's any violence, I guess, or and that could be abuse, emotional, physical, financial, spiritual. It can mean a lot of different things.
Definitely. You have a sexual assault empowerment group coming up in October, on October 25th. Can you tell the people about that and how people can attend?
Yeah, Cheyenne is actually the facilitator of that support group, so if she wants to take that one.
Oh, sure. So every month, Noojimo holds a support group for sexual assault survivors, in which we gather. We usually have a meal. We'll have a little spirit dish, make some offerings, and in our group, our survivors, it's meant for a safe place for our survivors to come and not feel alone, and where they're able to express themselves and express the things they've gone through in dealing with sexual assault. So our group, monthly, we bring up topics. We discuss topics on, what sexual assault is. We discuss different healing. We've been discussing alternative healing methods, bringing that traditional healing into, our space, and empowering our women to utilize the services we have locally. We also do a traditional craft, and kind of talk amongst one another. And usually towards the end, we all like to just sit around and visit. And usually I'm like, come on, girls, we got to go. It's time to go. And but yeah, if you're interested in attending our empowerment group, you can reach out to myself or Angela, and we're more than happy to get you signed up and welcoming you into our space.
That's awesome. And part of domestic violence is all the secrets. And I know it's hard for our people to come out and talk about this. What are some of the things that safeguard people that can show up to your group and know that they're safe in the community? And Cheyenne, could you answer that?
Can you define a little bit more of safeguard? What do you?
Well, I know we come from a small community. Everyone knows everyone, and how do we protect our anonymity and be able to speak freely? I know that's a thing that it sometimes is hard for people to talk about what's happening to them, and how do we protect our relatives?
Oh, absolutely. We are all about keeping things confidential in our space. When somebody new comes in and joins our group, everyone in our group kind of signs an agreement that what happens in our group stays in our group. Whoever we see here is who we see here, and we try to keep that space safe. So somebody who, because we are such a small community, we might know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So upon joining the group, you agree to a set of rules that's pretty heavy on confidentiality and ensuring each other's identities are remained confidential there. And kind of building a network, that support network amongst each other. It's I know you from group. I'll see you at group. I look forward to going to group and seeing my other friends who are at group. We're building those bonds right now in our groups and our spaces. So our women are looking forward to coming. They're like, you only hold it once a month, and I'm like, yeah. They kind of wish we could meet more often. So that's hoping we could do that more in the future.
Yeah, that's powerful, Cheyenne. Angela, I got a question here. What brings you to work every day? Why do the work and how this has got to be hard, just hard on your own psyche, and what motivates you? This is amazing work that you two are doing.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. I think for me personally, and I do think for a lot of people that do this work, I think it's not really, it's not uncommon. Many of us are survivors and of some kind of violence. If it's, not domestic violence, personally, it's, there's secondary victims who also, have witnessed or experienced a family member. It could also be with sexual assault, sexual exploitation, or trafficking. So for me, it's I think it's the healing work, and I think we're able to continue to do it because of the support we get from our coworkers, our agency, and being able to help survivors. That's the main drive.
Well, this is amazing work, and we got another segment here. Really want to dig deep in this, and our gratitude here to be able to amplify the work that you do for the community, and this is so important work and so needed. And October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're here with Angela and Cheyenne and from Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center in Minneapolis, and we'll be right back after this short break. I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Again, that's vaccines.gov. Vaccines.gov.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Every day, our people suffer at the hand of domestic and sexual violence. But you are sacred and deserve to be safe in your own home. Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. Native-centered, empowerment-based, trauma-informed advocates offer safety, sovereignty, and support. Call or text 844-7NATIVE. To chat online, visit www.strongheartshelpline.org. Reach out today.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by J.S. Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
Hey, we are here with Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center staff Angela Barnes, director of Noojimo, and Cheyenne Hindsley, sexual assault advocate with the Minnesota Indian Women Resource Center. And I want to ask you guys, where is the Minnesota Indian Resource Center located? And I wonder, Angela, if you could answer that, because we have people all over the country listening to this.
Sure. We're located at 2300 15th Avenue South in Minneapolis. For people that aren't really sure of the area, we also will direct them we're right across the street from IHB and the Indian Health Board, and we share a parking lot with the Indigenous Peoples Task Force, not too far from Franklin.
Oh, cool. And Cheyenne, how long have you been working for Minnesota Indian Resource Center in Minneapolis?
I'm fairly new to the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. I've been here since March, but I've been in the Noojimo department since June.
Cool. And Angela, how long you been with Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center?
I started in February of 2022. So originally I came on as a sexual assault advocate, and now I'm a director of Noojimo. So.
Well, let's also start over here, and I wonder what is Noojimo program, and what does the word mean?
Yeah, so Noojimo is our gender-based violence programming, and Noojimo means she, they, or he heals in Ojibwe, but we typically go by she heals because we're the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. So we typically do work with survivors of gender-based violence. Some of the things that we do in our department are we respond to forensic exams for medical advocacy. So when a woman experiences domestic violence or sexual assault or sexual exploitation or trafficking, she can go into HCMC in the emergency room, and we'll respond, meet her there, and help walk her through that forensic exam piece and offer that support and hand holding is some of the, or one of the words that we've used to describe it, but we literally will sit at the bedside and hold her hand. So we've also do law enforcement interviews, reporting their gender-based violence to the police. We've also attended court trials to be supported for that. We've also helped with like victim impact statements in court through hearings and trials and things like that. We do OFPs, or orders for protection, in court. So we do a few different things. We also do like the support groups that Cheyenne facilitates. We have another advocate here who is currently out on family or maternity leave, but she also provides assistance and facilitates the domestic violence groups typically, but Cheyenne is doing both and all, so she's doing a wonderful job.
Amazing. How can someone like me get help for a friend that I know is being abused? I know we all want to stay out of people's business, but this is like, we want to also help our friends. How can we help them?
I think, as mentioned earlier, this is something that a lot of the time happens in secret. So I think bringing light to that and, letting, if there's a friend, and unfortunately I think it rests, if there's, men experience domestic violence as well. But, if there's a woman who's suffering, and this also happens a lot in the LGBTQ community, it's not really isolated to a gender or an economic, any economic status or anything like that. It happens across races. It's just, it's prevalent. It can happen to anyone. So I think that, if somebody sees something, or you see people that are, there's something happening, if you're a male and this is a male perpetrating against a woman, maybe holding or stepping up, if you know that male, and saying, hey, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. And it's also for our friends that are going through it, letting them know that they're not alone. Connecting to resources, support is such it's so vital, because when people think that, and victim survivors think that they're going through it alone, one of the main weapons of a perpetrator is isolation, and connecting them or disconnecting them from family, close friends who support them. They want to be the only person who's giving them information, so your family doesn't love you. And if they've cut their family off from them, then they may believe that, your mom doesn't want to hear from you anymore. And it happens, and we see, our client relatives going through, and a lot of them, that's the experience, are isolated. So resources, providing support, and, holding perpetrators, and sometimes it's not even a scolding. It's just, taking them aside and being like, hey, what you said is not okay. It doesn't have to be, stern or anything. It could just be a conversation. There's a lot of different things that people can do to help.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm glad that you brought up that it's not just women that are affected, but men and our relatives in the GLBT group. And what are the resources available, Cheyenne? What else is out there that can help our relatives that are in this plight?
So luckily, Minnesota is home to Strong Hearts, the Strong Hearts helpline. Also, we have a few programs here in Minneapolis, right here in Minneapolis. We have our neighboring program, the Women's Life, Indigenous Women's Life Net at the Minneapolis, the Indian Center over there. We also have the Sexual Violence Center that's close by. We have the Domestic Abuse Project. I do believe they have an advocate in Little Earth. Day One Crisis Hotline is a 24/7 crisis hotline that they could talk to someone and get resources if they're fleeing an abusive relationship. They have access to shelter, women's shelters, bed openings. There are other programs out here in the community that help women flee in these types of situations, like women's advocates, Tubman. I believe Tubman's in Maplewood. I know Division of Indian Works has a sexual or domestic violence men's and women's group going on over there. Cornerstone is also a big place in Bloomington where we make a lot of referrals to. We're building a partnership with where they have shelter and housing. They have support groups there. They have access to, again, like safe housing. And then we also work a lot with the Domestic Abuse Center downtown, Hennepin County Domestic Abuse Center. So if somebody who has experienced domestic violence and they're wishing to get an order of protection, we accompany them, bring them to the Domestic Abuse Center downtown, and they speak with legal advocates. We help them access order of protections and or a harassment order, a domestic abuse no contact order, I'm probably forgetting some, so my apologies, but those are just some of the community programs that we work with and reach out to.
Yeah. This is, one of the things I wonder, why do sometimes victims return and stay with their abusers? And I know there's a plethora of things, Angela, and I know one of the things is, and I know Strong Hearts really helps with this, is that they have pets, and sometimes that's used as a pawn. And I know I have pets, Angela, and it's sad, and people go, and we just got to let them know that there is help out there for people like that have pets.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Women of Nations is a shelter that will accept pets. So there's also programming. I know that there was funds that were being looking for like requests for proposals for like places that will take and house emergency pets in emergency situations too. So there are resources, and we really encourage people to call and to ask, and if there's anything that we can do to help. And Strong Hearts is an amazing resource. We use them a lot. So otherwise, we have resources coming up at our event too.
Yeah, can you talk about the event? We got like 30 seconds left. Bring that event up by all means, please, Angela.
Sure. It's going to be October 30th at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, 2300 15th Avenue South, Minneapolis. And it's going to be from 3:30 to 5:30. We'll have food, T-shirts. We'll also have resources there, people who are coming from these agencies to be able to provide information and resources. So come down and have some chicken wild rice soup, fried bread, and get some information.
Well, Angela and Cheyenne, thank you, Big Peeny Gigi, for being on and the great work that you do for the community. Really, it's heartfelt here, and I just want to say thanks for coming on.
Jimmy, much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio with Dr. Stately.
The Minneapolis Institute of Art is featuring the art and legacy of Jody Falwell, a groundbreaking potter from Cabo Owinga, New Mexico. Over the past 50 years, Falwell has revolutionized Pueblo pottery and native art by weaving in personal, political, and social stories into her pieces. Her exhibition titled Opawa Omung shows the incredible range of her work and the impact she's had on both native and contemporary American art. You can check it out at MIA through January. For more info, visit artsmia.org.
This November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship agreements to manage federal lands, we return the lands of the Upper Sioux State Park to the Upper Sioux tribe and over 11,000 acres back to the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwa. This November, vote for the party that stands with our community. Vote Democrat. Paid for by the Minnesota Democrat Farmer Labor Party.
For everything you need to know about voting in Minnesota, visit the Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org. Find out where to vote, check registration status, and view sample ballots. Again, for all your voting information, go to mnvotes.org. Voting rights matter, and it's important to know where you stand. In Minnesota, if you're not currently in prison, you can vote, even with a felony conviction. For nearly 10 years, Make Voting a Tradition, or MVAT, has empowered Native American communities by increasing voter turnout and encouraging conversations about the issues that matter. Together, they're making sure every voice is heard and counted. Find your early voting location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a lasting tradition for generations.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Every day, our people suffer at the hand of domestic and sexual violence. But you are sacred and deserve to be safe in your own home. Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. Native-centered, empowerment-based, trauma-informed advocates offer safety, sovereignty, and support. Call or text 844-7NATIVE. To chat online, visit www.strongheartshelpline.org. Reach out today.
No one should have to choose between a paycheck and their health. Whether it's for a new baby, an unexpected illness, or an aging parent, Minnesotans deserve time to care for themselves and their families. That's why Minnesota Democrats are fighting for all working people to have paid family and medical leave. The time is now. Contact your legislator and tell them to pass paid family and medical leave for Minnesota. Learn more at paidleavemn.org. That's paidleavemn.org. Paid for by the Minnesota AFL-CIO.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Hey, we have our friend Dr. Stately on, President and Executive Officer at Native American Community Clinic here in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis. And wow, there's some exciting news I'm glad you're on that just came up, and it was reported by your favorite network, NPR. Yeah.
One of them, one of my favorites. But yeah, NPR published a story about the Centers for Medicaid Services, which kind of like is like one of the largest funders of healthcare, right, in the country. Kind of a safety net healthcare service provider or funder, insurance product or entity. They have moved forward on approving 4 states to have 2-year pilot demonstration projects where they will cover the cost of traditional healing practices for Native people. California, Arizona, Oregon, and New Mexico, I think.
That's unbelievable. Would you ever think this in your lifetime that you'd see this? When I saw that go across my social media, I was amazed, and I'm so glad that you're on to talk about this.
Well, I'm very deeply excited that like we're at this place where we are finally in one of the largest federal health systems, right? These are demonstration projects that will fund or provide financial support for the implementation of the capacity to be reimbursed for delivering these services within IHS designated health facilities. So IHS hospitals and clinics, urban Indian health clinics that get IHS funded funded entities. And it's these 4 states that are sort of like have advanced what are called 1115 waivers to the Centers for Medicaid Services. So states get to implement different kinds of, demonstration projects that they believe would be fundamentally helpful for their state recipients of Medicaid, and they advance waivers all of the time. Like Minnesota is working on a waiver now and developing the argument and the proposal for a waiver around traditional healing as well, and looking to see some of the things that are happening at the federal level to sort of like guide some of that conversation. So it's only 4 states, but it's, California has the largest number of Native people living in that state in terms of the number of tribes and also the number of Medicaid individuals. So it's a good place to test the concept and the project. So it's, all eyes are going to be on those 4 states for a while. So.
Dr. Stately, what could you name a few traditional things that we do? I think they're different in different tribes, but I know you guys do a lot of traditional healing things too. Give a couple examples to our listeners, what that looks like.
Sure. Well, we provide, like, I think a lot of these entities and will do some of the similar things that we do, which is we provide access to traditional medicines, plant-based medicine, like that you can use for like the 4 sacred medicines: cedar, sweetgrass, sage, and tobacco for smudging and praying and doing personal ceremony and those kinds of things. And then also, but also plants that are plant-based medicines for like that you would create teas for. During the pandemic, we really rolled out a lot of like kits for creating teas and elixirs and things that would help you with your like congestion and your breathing and those kinds of things. We have also, of course, advanced food as medicine as a real very specific thing that we do. We also have created community access to ceremonies for like different kinds of healing practices that would help people help their spiritual well-being, their emotional and psychological well-being, as well as their physical well-being. But the spectrum of traditional and cultural practices that would be helpful and healthful, beneficial to us in terms of our overall health, are as broad as they are for the rest of the population, right? So an example would be things like, if you were obese and you had diabetes and you had a number of other things, and you were told by your doctor to do things like, go see a physical therapist and, learn to, they have these pools that they put you in sometimes when you're obese and you have difficulty with so the buoyancy lightens the weight that you feel, so you can be a little bit more active. These are interventions that have been done in the broader community, but we have probably movement-based interventions that we would probably be able to do as well, that would increase people's physical activity and their movement and help with all kinds of problems, arthritic pain and these kinds of things. We have medicines that would treat and help people to manage pain and the experience of pain that is non-narcotic. These are plant-based medicines, things like that. There's a number. The field and the opportunity here is very broad and very wide, and I think that what's interesting is this article that I shared with you that was published by NPR and is kind of making its way around the world right now. These demonstration projects are specifically happening within the field of substance abuse and mental health services, which is kind of like, I think, where the preponderance of this work has happened for the last several decades, if it's been available. I mean, back when I got my PhD in California, we were like working on trying to find ways to bring people in to do healing work from their original communities, and they would come and they would set up visits along with the doctor, where the healer would come in with a visit with the doctor and provide some consultation to you or to the doctor for something that you need. But we don't see that as often in the practice of family medicine or in like medical clinics as we do in these other kinds of services. So I think there's opportunity for us to see how this kind of ferrets out, and also for us to begin to think through like, well, what would this look like within like medical clinical settings, and for other practices, and it's exciting because it opens up this whole opportunity for us as Indigenous people and other communities that also practice traditional healing methodologies. And we're not the only ones, Native people.
Right.
But it opens up this opportunity to sort of kind of invite in the potential for utilizing holistic and traditional cultural healing practices to advance health and well-being that has, for decades been closed off to us.
Yeah, what's amazing during COVID, and I always like go back to that because like COVID, we didn't know before there was a vaccine. We were doing I would go down the block, at night when it was dark, and get some flat cedar from a tree down the street and make tea. And there was many, a whole chunk pray with the flat cedar, but also we can use it in tea. And there was people with knowledge, the berries, those things that before a vaccine came out, we really stepped into our old ways. And that excites me too, because knowledge can be handed out freely. And also, I'm excited to see this, just the things that you're talking about.
It's a very exciting initiative. I'm watching it closely. NAC is working along with a few other folks within the state of Minnesota, along with the state Medicaid director, we're working on some plans around how to advance the support for traditional healing through a Medicaid waiver in Minnesota as well. I think we're not too far behind some of those folks, but it's really exciting. We're going to be watching these things carefully and looking at the outcomes and some of the evaluations on it. But I mean, I think one of the things that is helpful is that it gives tribes and tribal entities that deliver healthcare services to their communities that don't have a significantly large amounts of funding for program and program development. Like, we have we're the lowest funded health service, federal health service, or among all of them, lower than the VA, lower than all these other programs. And so what this gives us access to is the ability to test the idea of like, well, we made these billable services and reimbursable services through traditional lines of funding, which would be third-party payer structures. How does that look, and how effective will that be? And is there a way for us to implement something like this and still make it expansive enough to broaden access for our communities and give us the funding mechanism to pay for that, right? And then there's a lot of contention around that whole piece as well. But
hey, we're here with Dr. Stately, and we're going to come back and we're going to do some howling and talk some more about this groundbreaking.
Howling. That's good for your health too. Howling.
Get to howl again like the old days. Oh, hey, this is Native Roots Radio. We'll be right back after this short break.
Everyone likes a litter-free ride on Metro Transit buses and trains, so pitch in. Take pride in your ride and take your trash off with you when you get off at your stop. You'll find trash bins at every Metro station. Want to help clean up transit stops in your neighborhood? Join the hundreds who volunteer to adopt a stop and keep it picked up. Learn more at metrotransit.org/adopt-a-stop. That's metrotransit.org/adopt-a-stop.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950. Indigenous communities face severe threats from pollution impacting both the air we breathe and the water we cherish. Pipelines, mines, and waste incinerators near our homes lead to higher rates of asthma, diabetes, and heart disease. In the Twin Cities, Native and Black communities experience over twice the rate of asthma. Let's not forget that water is life. It's something we must protect as a vital resource and way of life. In Minneapolis, our vote helped close the Smith Foundry and bituminous roadways. Let's continue using our vote to fight for climate justice. Make voting a tradition, or MVAT, empowers Native communities by increasing voter turnout and supporting conversations about critical issues like clean air, water, and health. By getting involved, we shape the policies that protect our families and environment. Find your nearest polling location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a tradition for future generations. That's sos.state.mn.us.
Hi, this is Governor Walz. Thank you for listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
How? Yeah, that was lame, Dr. Stately. Just throwing that out there. Just a little puppy.
It was a little late on that one, too.
Yeah, a little puppy wolf there. Hey, welcome back. We're with Dr. Stately, not a great howler, but the great doctor at Native American Community Development here in Minneapolis.
Development?
Clinic, Native American Community Clinic. Am I a little off today, Haley? I think I am.
Oh, just a little.
I don't know if it's just today, though. I mean,
welcome back, Dr. Stately, and
Thank
amazing
you.
things. And I just want to change the subject for just 1 second, and then we can go back to that if you want to talk more about that NPR article. Have you voted yet?
I have not.
Okay. Are you a voter that votes on the day of?
I like to go to the poll.
Yeah. That is exciting.
Like, and I'll go like in the middle of like torrential rain and snowstorms. I think I like to just I don't know. I think representation matters too, so I kind of want to show up.
Yeah.
And
get the sticker.
I did have this thing that I was going to try to be like a poll, an election judge, like one of those people that like make you behave when you show up, kind of thing.
Yeah. make sure you sign in on this line here.
Yeah, and like look at everybody's ID, make sure they're them, and so I'll just be like, but I couldn't, like, it wasn't an easy process. I will just tell you that. Like, I was a little bit shocked that it was not an easy experience for me. And I had to do it online, and there was all this stuff that I had to get, like, and I was like, this is crazy. So I was like, I'm an elder, like, give me a paper application, let me fill it out. And, like, I don't want to do the, like, go through your, like, phone tree and a million other, like, windows on your website. You should make it easy.
How hard was it compared to the Bush grant?
Oh, well, yeah, they were different tasks. But, the Bush Fellowship was, like a lot like giving birth to something, so. Yeah. But I think I'll try that. Like, there will be another election in 2 years, right? Like more local elections, stuff like that. But in 2 or 4 years, and I'll try that again. Because I just think it's something that I think I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the closest I could get to, like, political life. I don't really want to, like, be elected for anything, and I do have people encouraging me to run for things, but I'm like, I don't really want to run for anything right now.
That'd be exciting to have you run. My election judges, I guess they're called, right? Or workers.
Yeah.
They're all ancient, so I mean, they've been around for a long time, and so maybe
they happen to be the people that have the most free time. I think that's why they end up doing it. So but
I know
if I
you
had
don't
more
have
free time, I'd probably have done it. So I would have pushed it. But I think it's really important to be civically engaged. So, like, I'm doing other things to do those things. I have given the Democratic Party a significant amount of donations over the last several months. I've upped it since August 5th, or whenever they announced our governor as vice presidential candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be honest and say that I probably give them more money now since that happened, because I really do want them to win. If only, I mean, because the other, the opposite or the alternative is unconscionable to me and just can't happen.
Right.
And I've had discussions with relatives. Yes, I do have some relatives who think that the orange one is going to be the great hero. I was like, well, we've already tried him once. He didn't do that great of a job. And people say all kinds of things like, well, at least we know what to expect with him. I'm like, that is the point. That is the point of the conversation here. Like, we do know what to expect with him. And I'm like, and I'm always shocked when I hear from my Black and my Indigenous relatives that, like, they want to support Trump, because I'm like, do you have any bigger understanding other than your own sort of financial well-being, which drives a lot of people's decision-making, for sure, right? But do you have any broader understanding of the implications of the decision you make on not just you and your family, but the entirety of the nation as it relates to, like, women's rights,
sovereignty.
Sovereignty. I'm like, if I meet a Native person who tells me they're going to vote for Trump, I'm like, do you realize, like, what that man wants to do to sovereignty? Like, he would like to nothing more than to completely decimate it and, like, kill it.
Well, the second day that he was elected, he changed Obama's thing on Dakota Access Pipeline. It was the second day.
Yeah.
Not the third day, not the first day, the second day.
Yeah. And so I'm no Elon Musk. I'm not giving him billions of dollars, but I am giving them more than I normally would. I'm really stretching my finances here and my financial support because I believe in it. And also because truth be told, I want Peggy to become our next governor. So I'm like, with each contribution, I put a little bit, I say my own, say a prayer or two. So I'm like, I'm doubling down on my efforts here.
Yeah, and that would be great, too. I don't think once she became governor, well, I shouldn't say that because Governor Walz has been on the show. I was going to say we won't be able to find the governor because she'll be so busy. But that's not true. She's in community all over the place, and she's always been
she always is
the most active lieutenant governor in my lifetime.
Yeah, and actually just not even just active for Native communities. And I think that's the other thing that is like, she really does understand the principles that we sort of live by as Indigenous people, which is like, I have a responsibility to be a good relative to everyone, right? And so being a good relative to everyone doesn't mean I just take care of my own camp. I recognize that like my well-being is tied to your well-being. If the pandemic didn't teach us anything, it should have taught us that, right? So it's like, I have a responsibility to try and take care of everybody because we're all connected, in so many ways. And like when we all rise, when the bottom of the rung rises, everybody rises. And so take care of the people who have historically not been taken care of well. And when you build a structure that does that, everybody gets better. Everybody improves. Things improve for everyone. And I think she really gets that, and she does a lot of work out in the community in all kinds of areas, in education and public safety. She's like in all these spaces. And, she really does her best to sort of, like when I make an effort, a plea for something related to the work I do, they make an effort to respond, and they usually get a response from them within a fairly decent amount of time, like a few days or a few weeks.
Yeah.
But
and it's just
but most importantly, it's going to be a historic thing.
Oh,
like
totally.
Do people understand the historical significance of electing, that ticket, and then also, her moving up to governor? And I know that Billy Joe Champion has said that he doesn't want to sort of advance, but like, can you imagine an executive office and executive branch in the state of Minnesota where an Indigenous person and a Black person are holding the two senior roles? That's like historic. It's never happened, ever, in any state.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
wow.
We have the opportunity to really, really change things. And we have the opportunity to change what our children see as the opportunities for them in the future. And that's a really, really an important thing to do. Absolutely. We got to look farther than just the front door. What's on our front door? We got to look down the road. Absolutely.
Dr. Stately, thank you so much for coming on and always coming on and being there. Dr. Stately, CEO and president of Native American Community Clinic here in the Twin Cities. Thank you so much. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
And free Leonard Peltier now.